would have been April 4th, 2011. I want to recognize the fact that my grandfather would have been 100 years old today. It is kind of surreal to think such a thought. The would have beens, could have beens, and should have beens are normally a waste of time and energy, but I'd like to pay my respect to a person who had a positive effect on my life. My grandfather, whom I called Peepaw, pronounced Peepaw, was the most down-to-earth and real of all my grandparents. Born and raised in Stamford, Connecticut, he was a sickly child. I'm not sure what happened to his father, but I know that my grandfather was the only man in his household. He had to leave school at a very young age, 7th grade, go to work and support his mother and sisters. He worked as a machinist in factories most of his life. He was a hard-working, blue-collar man. He married my grandmother, whom I called Baba, pronounced Baba, and raised his 2 daughters, my mom and my aunt. He was a faithful and devoted husband. He was happy with just the basics in life. While he didn't make loads of money, he was able to offer my grandmother a nice retirement in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They moved when I was only 4. We would make our annual visit to them, or they'd come up north to visit with us. Then my Baba got sick with breast cancer. My Peepa was by her side the whole time. After her death in 1976, we started a ritual of sorts whereby my Peepa would come up north for the summer and stay with us for a month or so. These are the times that I remember most. Yes, he was retired, but this man had unending energy. Every year he planted a garden consisting mostly of tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. He nurtured it, watered it, and inevitably picked the fruits of his labor. My dad wasn't much of a caretaker, so Peepa would cut our lawn during the summer and do the weeding. Peepa really enjoyed a good sweat, and I remember him equally enjoying the rewards of a nice cold beer afterward. Pabst Blue Ribbon, anybody? Pabst Blue Ribbon, usually. During the day, Peepa would hang out with my brother and I. He taught us how to play pinochle, a card game that I still play to this day. He would walk with me to the tennis courts at the high school for my NJTL, National Junior Tennis League, practice sessions. During the summer evenings, he would sit and watch the New York Yankees. He was a die-hard fan of baseball. Occasionally, he'd indulge in his favorite ice cream, butter pecan. On some days, he would walk about 7 miles to downtown Stamford to see if any of the old-timers were still around. My Peepa could strike up a conversation with anyone on the street. He was approachable, friendly, and had a wonderful sense of humor. In July of 1989, just before he was to fly up north, he passed away. About 6 months later, I met my future husband, David. I saw so many similarities between Peepa and David. It was the simple things like being a good person, having a sense of humor, working hard, and loving me unconditionally that made me see how blessed I am to have had them in my life. David never met Peepa. I'm not sure how my grandfather would react, but based on the times that he grew up, I think initially he would have a problem with me being with a black man. But I think Peepa would have given David a chance. And once Peepa realized how much he and David had in common, like pinochle, the Yankees, work ethic, and me, I think Peepa would enjoy David's company. I still share these stories of my Peepa with my husband and sons. I want them to know how special my grandfather was to me. I'd like to think that if my Peepaw were alive today, at 100 years old, he'd be proud of me, my husband, and his great grandsons.